news.
I am the Eggman. That's what I am.
I think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. You are listening to the Doghouse with your host Husky and Up Dog.
Hey, what's up, fellow gamers? Like he said, it's Husky and Updog today. And you're listening to The Doghouse, your one-stop shop for gaming news, reviews, and discussion. We got a pretty good show lined up for you today.
We got a show.
It's a show.
It's a show.
I think it's higher quality than normal because
Yeah.
we've removed an important piece from the puzzle. And overall, I feel it will increase the quality of said program. Dingo's not here with us today.
Dingo's dead.
He's gone. He disappeared.
So Dingo's game.
But yeah, we'll do our best to carry on.
We'll do fine.
Share the load.
Share the load. Oh, this is gonna be a great show. Okay. Just jump right into it, I guess. So before we have a show. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's a show. We put it together.
Isn't
We
that
did
what
our
it
best.
is? That's what it always is, though. It's just a show.
Yeah.
We do
but-
our best.
We got some news that we're gonna share with you, some interesting topics that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before we get into any of that, we're gonna jump straight into our verse of the day, which today is Romans chapter 8, verse 28. Now usually this is where I have Dingo read it, but he has been selected for the cleanse.
He's been deleted.
He's been taken by the Reapers.
What are we gonna do? I can't
It's your
read.
turn.
I don't know how to read.
Ugh.
I never learned.
Ugh. All right, so Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. It's a good verse.
Yep.
Moving on, we're going to jump straight into the weather of the day. So the weather for today is it's partly cloudy, so it's pretty nice. It's actually not that bad out.
It was pretty nice.
today.
It was pretty nice today.
I like it cool. I know a lot of people would complain if it were this cool, but like for me personally, I enjoy it being this cool. So
I got a jacket. I'm fine.
yeah, it's 54 degrees Fahrenheit outside, with it being 12 degrees Celsius for all you German savages, our legions of savage German fans that listen to us from across the pond. The humidity is 58 degrees Fahrenheit with a northeasterly wind speed of 17 miles per hour. The wind chill actually brings it down to 49 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 9 degrees Celsius. It's not that bad. I mean, it's 9 degrees from freezing, but what can I say? Hey. But yeah, it's still pretty okay.
I like it.
Based on what we've had like recently, like within the last several weeks, it was like really cold and wet, which looks like it might be getting up to that again, because this afternoon we have a 70% chance of showers,
Great.
the high of 57, and tonight it goes up to 90%, and it stays around 80 to 90 through Saturday. So, and then Sunday it looks like we're be mostly cloudy, and then from Sunday night on to Tuesday it looks like we're gonna have above 50% chance of rain. We have a deluge ahead of us.
Well,
so.
it is spring, so
Mm.
should expect some rain, I guess. All right, I guess that's all we have for.
Yeah, that's all we have for the weather and that. So we're gonna go ahead and jump straight into the top of the hour, I guess. Our tops of the hour. We had to double down since we had to.
Yeah,
had to
we're
break
minus
our backs.
one. Yeah, we're minus one person, so we had to double down and dig deep for that good hot steamy gaming news.
Yeah, that's gamer news.
We're legitimate journalists, I swear.
Smells like a Smash tournament in here. Yeah.
Oy.
But yeah, we had to pick up Dingo's slack.
When don't we though? Oh no.
But jumping in the top of the hour, first things first, I'm just going to jump into the big boy news. So E3, that expo that we love to watch, we love to get all the hype stuff about, even though it's like hilariously expensive for the game companies to put on some of those shows. Yeah, it's canceled. So
what?
The ESA, which is responsible for like organizing the event, has due to coronavirus concerns, has decided to cancel the event. However, and a lot of the game companies like Ubisoft and Square Enix, I know I saw some post by them, express their condolences to fans who were looking forward to going out there and their understanding about their cancellation. But jumping into that, they did say that they're going to be looking into doing an online event for the summer.
Yeah, I know Nintendo also said something similar, that they were going to work on probably a direct.
Yeah, but they were going to do direct anyways, but it's interesting that E3 is going to be doing, E3 itself is like saying that they're going to try to do an online, completely online thing. So.
I've also seen some stuff like trying to make it clear to fans that this is not a permanent switch. There's going to be an E3 like 2021, but for this year, just trying to cut down the infection risk.
Yeah, definitely. And it was really kind of bummer for Warner Brothers because they were gonna have their first appearance there, talking about Batman, Harry Potter, and other stuff.
Well, it's probably their fault then.
Well, what are you gonna?
Listen, I'm not a mathematician, but when you add something and then the whole thing breaks, it's probably their fault.
That is interesting. If they were thinking about coming to E3, though, what to think about what they might have talked about, especially in the way of Batman, because I know people.
Yeah.
Even though that Arkham Knight was supposed to be the last one, it's not gonna be the last one.
No, I think that there were rumors floating around about a new one. I don't remember seeing anything confirmed though, but that would be really cool to get another Arkham game.
But yeah.
Or like something for another superhero. That'd be cool too. I guess. Superman 64 too.
Ugh. I don't know. The last Superman game I played, to be fair, it was a movie game, so like I couldn't expect much, but like it was not that great. I couldn't even figure out how to save in that game. It was so confusing. The UI was so But yeah. Outside of that, there's also apparently a Silent Hill reboot going to be happening.
Hill?
So yeah, I have the article. If you allow me, give me the grace of letting me pull it up. So.
I will not.
Oh well, too late because I already had it up.
He's always one step ahead, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so this is let me just go to the tweet actually because it says it in more concise terms. Excuse me. Get out of my way, Doom. But yes, this comes from a report from I think it's Total Horror or something. Yeah, Rely on Horror, but it was retweeted by a source that I follow, Nibel, or Nibelian. He apparently from multiple sources, a Silent Hill series reboot and Silent Hill's revival are both in the works by Sony. So that includes like a reboot for the main series, but also a revival of the infamous Silent Hills demo. Take this with a grain of salt, obviously. But the reboot is supposed to be filmed by former Team Silent and possibly even Project Siren members. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I really would like a return to form for the Silent Hill, and by the return to form I mean just make it look like Silent Hill 2, make it like Silent Hill 2 again.
Maybe clean it up.
Yeah, make it current gen.
Sure.
I think I want an actual scary game.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of people taking older games and reworking them, specifically in horror, like with the new old Resident Evil games that people are doing.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that kind of helped push this stuff forward.
Yeah,
in terms of priority.
And it's not like they're just like bringing it forward and just like rehashing it. They're rehashing it in a way, but they're taking these concepts and stories and they're bringing it forward to like a new era, giving it a new polished sheen. And like while some people might see that's too easy and kind of maybe, I don't know, they may not like it. I like the concept of it, giving people a chance to play through these and enjoy these worlds and characters and a current gen thing. Because let's be honest, like some of these older games do not age well.
No, that's true. So,
But
yeah, I think like we can get more into that later. But yeah, I do agree with that.
yeah. Outside of that, there is some new news. Obviously, this is kind of goes without saying almost, but CD Projekt Red, like, we are looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077, but they are looking to. They're already working on their next game, which is rumored to be another in the Witcher universe. So that'll be interesting. I know a lot of people are hoping for Witcher 4, but it could be either way. But there's definitely going to be they've already said in the past that there's going to be a return to the Witcher universe. It's not going to be a direct sequel or anything. But yeah, so they're already at work on their next game, big single player project.
That's cool. So it's probably not going to star my good friend Geraldo of the Lake.
Yeah, Geraldo Riveria.
Geraldo Riverboy.
Duck Slayer. Extraordinaire.
He's probably not going to be in it though. Is that like kind of what I'm hearing?
I don't know if he won't be in it, but
he's not the main character.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd want to be anything other than Witcher in that universe. It seems like everybody that's not a Witcher kind of gets universally has a horrible existence.
Well, I mean, it's not. That's kind of just the tone of the games, I guess. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they could do some interesting, like world building stuff. Maybe you'll be like a wizard this time or something. I don't really know. I haven't played any of the Witcher games. I haven't seen the Netflix series.
Who knows? It'd be interesting if you played different Witcher. Maybe.
That might be cool. Maybe you'll play Ciri this time. Maybe that'll be the main focus.
I'd be down, I guess. Although I think I don't know how. I haven't got to play through to the end of Witcher 3, so I don't know how strong she is. Hope if she's game breaking or not. So, but that'll be interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you had a couple of top of the hours as well.
It's Updog's turn. It is my time to shine. So, earlier this week, we got a couple trailers that I'm going to talk about. The biggest one for a lot of people was the announcement and oncoming release of a Mario Lego crossover. Lego's pretty famous for doing a lot of really well-known, crossovers. They've done some Harry Potter stuff. They've done some Indiana Jones. Basically, if you can think of it, they've done a crossover. I mean, they did like a Portal series of sets for a while, which was really weird for me, but it's kind of cool. This isn't going to be like typical Lego sets, though. This is kind of like it's got like a game element to it. Like you build like a little Mario set, like figure or whatever, and he can interact with different objects along a course that you build. So like if he taps like one of the bricks that coins come out of, this LED screen on his stomach kind of lights up and shows him getting the coins. If you make him stomp on enemies like Goombas or Koopas, then it'll make the noise that he makes in his video game. So it's like it's kind of novel and it's interesting. I probably won't get it. I'm not a very big Lego fan, but I can see a lot of kids getting a big kick out of it. It's cool. Like the idea of like physically building Mario courses is pretty cool.
It's like Mario Builder, but like more expensive.
Yeah, pretty much. But you can like it'd be kind of cool to like have a Mario course just like on a.
I'd get it for my
display.
kid, I guess. So I don't know if I'd be caught dead buying it because
probably not.
I don't need that additional judgment from my peers.
I would definitely judge you quite harshly.
Be like, why didn't you get me one?
Why didn't
Eli?
you get me one, huh? Could have gotten that like Baby Yoda set. What are you doing?
You know, it'd be cool. What I'm surprised they never did, like a Hot Wheels Sonic crossover where you make Sonic courses.
Yeah, sure.
Or they like make like a Sonic Maker where you make like a Sonic course and try to get them to go as fast as possible.
Well, they kind of did that. It's called Sonic Mania, and it was very well received. So they immediately decided to never do that again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's about par for the course.
Sega.
Yep. All right. The next trailer that we also got this week that I am honestly way more excited for.
Yes.
We got another Doom trailer.
Diddle-a-dun.
It was only about 42 seconds, but it revealed vital information for the release of Doom Eternal. And that is we will be getting custom costumes for your Doom Slayer.
We actually got 2 trailers within like 24 hours.
Yeah.
It was weird. And
It
the
was
other
weird.
one you hadn't seen, and we accidentally looked it up and watched it. But
Yeah.
we'll go over the launch trailer first, right quick.
So yeah, the launch trailer, it kind of just recapped everything we'd seen so far. Like, there's going to be angels in this game. The demons are coming to Earth. It's like a full-on invasion, which is what I've always really wanted to see from a Doom game. You're not on Mars anymore, though you'll probably go back at some point during the game. There's going to be like some world hopping elements in this one, some space travel. The Doomslayer's got like a hub.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a hub base in this one where you can use your upgrades and different stuff. So like this game is going to be really weird compared to some of the other Doom ones. Like, it's going to be more narrative driven, and there's going to be like more, I guess, like, it's not so much on like, it's not as linear, I guess. It's going to be more like expansive and going to different places and coming back, which I'm okay with, honestly, as long as I get to rip and tear.
Until it is done.
Until it is done. And I got 100% and all the achievements. But yeah, they showed the Baron of Hell again. That's the really big guy. Like, in the last game, you went into hell and you found like his skull. They showed that like Doomslayer had like taken him out between games, but now he's back. So I'm looking forward to
There's
trying
another one.
trying to do that again.
He's back.
He's really big and he's hard to kill, but it'll be fun. It'll be great.
Shoot him in
Maybe.
the face with your super shotgun.
Super shotgun.
Super shotgun.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Second trailer that I'm really excited for, 42 seconds long, just showed a bunch of the custom costumes you can get in the game. I don't know. There's like a desert camo one, like a battle damaged one.
Classic.
Classic Doom. That was my favorite one.
Doom 2016.
Doom 2016. It looked like a lot of really cool ones. Did you have a favorite one?
I don't know. Like a couple, you got to see like a couple of them up close.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and you know, the unicorn one is like
Yeah,
something.
There's one that's like exclusive for Twitch streamers or whatever.
I don't know if that's my favorite. It was interesting. I'm glad that they're not like holding their punches on as far as designs go. But
right.
yeah. I enjoy some of the. I like the one that had the visor punched out, like you said.
Yeah.
There are a few of them I didn't get to see up close though. I thought the classic one looked ridiculous. Like,
I think the classic one was my favorite.
I'm not saying that I didn't like it.
It looks
just
really dumb, but I love it.
Yeah, it still has like the opening in the abs.
He looks like a wrestler or something.
Yeah, I mean, but that was like the design.
Yeah.
That was like the general way of you design things back then.
Could you imagine if that was his standard costume for these games, though?
Oh my gosh.
That would be great.
All your vital organs are exposed. No protection whatsoever.
He doesn't care. He'll be fine.
But yeah. I'm looking forward to Doom very much, a lot more now. I really need to go back and play 2016.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm super amped to see what they do with the soundtrack this time too.
They got the same guy working on it, so
Excelente.
that'll be good.
Ooh, yeah, we still have yet to see more of the multiplayer too, where they do the
Yeah.
you get to the demons versus Slayer.
Yeah, I found out about that, and I actually read some other stuff that they're apparently doing. Apparently, in Dark Souls how there's invasion.
Oh no.
Yeah, you can play as a demon and try to invade other people's game.
It's the Dark Souls of shooters.
You can even like gang up on one person. Like you can have like I think at least 2 people can like become demons and gang up on someone in the game. So that could be really cool or really annoying, just like in Dark Souls. So I guess we'll find out.
But yeah, in either case, it looks like this Doom Eternal is looking to expand upon what the Doom 2016 did for the franchise and bringing it back from the proverbial grave. But, Doom isn't the only franchise that's been brought back from the grave. We'll be talking about a few of those franchises that have had reboots, defibrillators taken to their chests for good or ill. When we get back, we're going to be talking about reboots in gaming. And if you guys will stick around, we're going to take a quick music break. We're going to play Lightbringer by Pentakill, get a short ad by one of our other DJs, and then play All Is One by Miracle of Sound. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
You don't know what it's like to be alive until you've been living in the truth. Join me, Moonpie Man,
and Mr. Media
on Mondays from 4 to 5 as we walk through the Word together.
Let's do it, y'all.
Stumble from the ashes, lost enigmas in the dust. I cannot remember, though they tell me that I must. Sky is torn asunder, fear that breaks the brave will not drag me under, climb out of the grave. Make a sign or faults define this mark of worth I wear. Hardened are these faithful scars I bear. Stand side by side, carry all as one, we can bear this weight. Stand side by side, we won't come undone, for the hands that will carry us home are touched by fate.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. You are listening to The Doghouse with your host, Husky. And Up Dog. I feel like something's missing.
I can't imagine what. Hey,
it's
what's
probably
up,
not
fellow?
important.
Probably not. Hey, what's up, fellow gamers? Like he said, you're listening to the Doghouse, your one-stop shop for gaming news, reviews, and discussion. We just got back from a quick break. Thanks for staying tuned in. We appreciate it.
Thanks for staying tuned in through my 10-minute long break.
Yeah.
Music break that I definitely didn't organize ahead of time because there's only two of us. I'm scared.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we were just about to have a discussion about reboots in video games.
Allegedly.
I think first we should start off by defining what we mean when we say reboot. Like
Right.
what is the first game that comes to your mind when I say the word reboot? Go.
Or, well, RE2, because that's just the thing that, off
Yeah.
the top of my mind, that happened the most recently.
Oh, I don't know if that doesn't feel like a reboot, though. That feels like a remake.
Does it feel like, I mean, for me, like a reboot is something that's like takes something already established and takes it in a completely drastic, different direction. And I feel like
Yeah.
a remake can be a reboot. A reboot isn't always a remake.
I feel like those two statements are contradictory, because if you're taking something and you're making it again, it is going to be the same in at least a few respects. But if you're rebooting something, it'll be completely different.
Well, I don't
You
think
know?
like when we say completely different, I think, I don't. With another example on Doom, I don't think that was a departure from what the original games were. I
No.
think it just brought it forward.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
RE2.
It's yeah, but none of the levels are the same. Like none of there aren't returning character, like the villain, the bad guys come back and they're the same, and it might be part of the same like storyline or whatever, but as far as the mechanics of the game and the aesthetics and everything and stuff, that's all different. Like let's see, Metroid Prime, I'd think of that as a reboot because it's really different from the past games in the Metroid series, and it's its own thing clearly, but it's still Metroid and it still kind of holds to the Metroid standards and game design stuff. And then like Metroid 2 Samus Returns or whatever, like that's a remake, you know? Like all the levels are the same as Metroid 2. Even though they added a bunch of new stuff, it still feels like, you know,
Well,
they
I mean,
reconstructed a
in
game.
RE2, the mansion is, I mean, it's still the mansion, but it's not the mansion that you played through in the first one. They have gone through and changed pretty much how the entire game works in comparison to the original RE2. First and foremost being that there aren't any tank controls. I feel like they're taking the classic stories and characters and, yes, remaking them, but just because it's a remake, I feel, to this extent, I think it's a reboot of this franchise. That, like, it's a return from their action-oriented back to the classic horror elements. But
Yeah,
and I think it's more relative to the way the franchise is at the current before it happens. So, but, you know.
it's a slippery slope to try to get onto because, like,
yeah.
some games will re-release with like a little bit of stuff and they'll call it a reboot, and some stuff is like completely different but it's called a remaster. Like, what's Persona 5 The Royal? Is that like a remake? Is that a remaster? Is it like, I know it's probably not a reboot,
Extended edition re-release, awesome mix.
but like the whole game is supposed to be different.
Brought to you by Sierra Mist.
It's real. Brought to you by Sierra Mist.
The worst sponsor to have.
There it is.
Pay us.
Sponsored by Pepsi.
Beppis.
Pepsi. All right.
But I don't know. I don't think, unless the Royal, like, what's the new Persona 5 game that's like a big fighting game? Scramble. I get if they were like saying, okay, this is what Persona is gonna be like right now. I'd be like, okay, I guess. Like, if they just scratched everything from the top and they're like, okay, Persona Scramble, this is it. This is what it is. I'd be like, okay, that's a reboot. But it's a soft sequel because it's going from Persona 5.
It's almost in like spin-off territory.
Yeah.
If it weren't a sequel.
I mean, there's some people. Go ahead.
No, you at least.
No, I want to listen. I want to hear what you said because you're
I
probably
feel
more
like
intelligent.
it's really like the categorization in my head is like really arbitrary. But I think one point we can agree on is for a game to be a reboot, I think it has to almost be like a returning franchise or something that has kind of not gotten any attention for a while.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't consider like the new Final Fantasy thing. Wouldn't consider that a reboot. That's a remake, and it's
Right.
not a reboot because they're just expanding on the direction they're already with Final Fantasy. I would consider Final Fantasy 15 almost a reboot, just because of the drastic change from like the combat, and like even Final Fantasy 14, which went to MMO. But I don't know. That didn't really have a overarching effect on the franchise. But like Final Fantasy 15, that changed how they're going forward with the franchise. That was a reboot. This is just a remake.
I would agree with you on that.
So, but RE2 and a better example is RE7. That's a reboot.
Oh, yes. Yes,
So like
yes.
you have these two distinct styles now, where you have like they're taking like the old characters and styles of the game and putting it in this like refreshed new gen format, and then you have, which is a reboot in its own right, but then you have RE7, which is taking completely different approach to the horror. That's a wholesale reboot, in my opinion.
You can kind of take those two games and kind of use them as like a jumping point off for all spin-offs, because like some reboots can be like they take like a previous established like franchise or individual title, and they try to bring it up to the current tech. Like they take out a lot of the stuff that was a limitation of the times and stuff, and they try to like, this is how we would have made the game if we could have back in the day.
Right.
And then other reboots are like, okay, here's like the core idea of the game, like in Resident Evil's case, like scary zombies and horror and stuff, and we're gonna completely make it different, you know. We're gonna like reimagine everything and make it like put the focus on a whole bunch of different new areas and stuff.
We're gonna gut it, basically.
We're gonna gut it and take the good parts and
deck the halls with it.
deck the halls. Okay. It's a very Resident Evil like turn of phrase, I guess.
I think one of the best examples of what a reboot is in recent memory is Wolfenstein.
Okay.
So before the latest Wolfenstein, the trio of games were released. The last of the trio being apparently bad, but Youngblood. The first one, I think it was like New World Order or something.
Yeah, I watched someone play that and it looked really fun.
When it came out, before it came out, people wouldn't have thought that like Wolfenstein is a game that you go for characterization or like depth or anything. But this game, like, it wasn't just you going around like a Doom-esque, like run and gun fighting Robo Hitler. It was, it had a little bit more depth, and it was like a refreshing take on the franchise, and they're bringing it forward. That's what they did with Doom 2016 as well. Like Doom 2016 and Wolfenstein are kind of in that same camp where they got brought forward and just reimagined to where, like, and I know the Slayer isn't interested in the story, but there is an actual story and narrative going on in the background at the very least.
Yeah.
And even the way he acts towards that story is a story in itself.
So much contempt for everything that was happening.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's an excellent example of what a reboot should do generally until Youngblood happened. But
I'm not really sure what went on with that.
It was it was just meh, and that was disappointing considering that like the sequel, the New World Order, was fantastic.
Right.
New Colossus, I believe. But yeah, it was I think there's a game that's a bad example of a reboot. Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
Whew.
That game, I feel like, could have been good. There are
Right.
several things they put into that game that other games kind of took and reworked to make. Like there were glory kills in that game, but they were too slow.
Everything was just didn't flow well in that.
No, like the focus was more on like the image of Duke Nukem, like the
bad jokes,
and the bad jokes, the pea humor, the explosions, and the violence and stuff, to the point where like it felt like the gameplay took a back seat.
Yeah,
they didn't do a good job of balancing all that out. But that's a technical. I think maybe they got a little too ahead of themselves trying to make a good Duke Nukem reboot, and like remembering all the things that they liked instead of making sure the game was like technically sound, I guess.
Right. Yeah. It's in that game, it suffered from a thing of being too stiff and too mired in the way the old games were and the limitations of the. It was like trying to like recreate that feeling from the old games that it ended up limiting itself in a way that it didn't need to, in the way the old games were. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It didn't try to actually reboot. It almost became mired in its legacy, which is, that's kind of the thing that reboots have to overcome is their legacy, especially when it's a storied franchise. Something that I think, we talked about it already a few times. Doom, I think, has done well.
And that goes completely like,
Metroid Prime as well.
Metroid Prime, yeah, also. And I think that goes to like directly to the people creating the games. Like id Software did a really good job with Doom. Those people are really good. I really hope Bethesda doesn't tinker around with anything in this.
Put their hand to doesn't mix it up a little bit too much.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to do a Back to the Future. You take your hands off my game. And then I'm gonna get beaten up in a parking lot.
I'm gonna be there watching. But oh my lord, what are you doing? Oh baby, what are you doing? But I don't know. Like, what are some other examples? Here's a question: would you think Breath of the Wild counts as a reboot?
That's a good kind of thing to come up to a point I was thinking of. Some franchises don't so much like, it's almost like they reboot themselves with every entry. Like every single 3D Legend of Zelda entry has been similar, but it's also been like very unique and different on its own. None of them has been quite as like different as Breath of the Wild has been, but it almost feels like different franchises sometimes between like Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, or like Ocarina and Link to the Past. There's very clearly like, you could almost say Ocarina of Time was a reboot because that started the 3D ones, but even Sonic to a point like keeps changing his style, and like
that's because Sonic is like a class 5 eldritch horror, but
he's not rebooting, he's evolving.
Brian isn't here to defend him. We need to just restyle the Sonic games as a horror game. That's a reboot that Sonic needs.
You're trying to get away from him?
Yeah, he's too fast.
That kind of makes Eggman to be a hero.
Yeah, he is a hero.
He's my hero.
Trying to save us.
What I mean is like they made like the Sonic Adventure games, and then they tried to remake the games again with the 2006 Sonic game. And recently they did that Sonic Boom game where it feels like they're constantly trying to reinvent him. Also kind of like Assassin's Creed to it, like sort of.
Not
it's
as
weird.
Much maybe. Like, okay, so like it was weird. I don't think Assassin's Creed 1 to 2 was like a reboot. I think that was just them like, okay, we have to actually like start adding a whole bunch of wingdings. Like Assassin's Creed 2 was great, but it added a whole bunch of wingdings and like interesting like little features to the game to kind of make it a little bit more stand out, because now that was a franchise that Ubisoft was going to be running it with at the time. I think when they started to reboot it around Assassin's Creed 3 came out, and then they were like reboot time. At least in the sense of, well, I can't even say it was a reboot because it still had the same story. I think they just changed. I don't think they changed enough in the Assassin's Creed to say that they rebooted it.
That's fair.
But like Unity, they tried to reboot it to disastrous results.
I laughed really hard.
I think my mom actually said something like she remembers the day that I got that. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back here and play it. I'm gonna don't pest me. I'm getting in my gamer chair. Like an hour later, I walked out, and I was angry. I went and returned it that day.
That's great.
But yeah, oh man, that's another example of how you don't try to reboot a franchise. Probably try to actually make the game before you release it.
Yeah,
that's a first step. Unity didn't do that.
I guess, okay. So I think, getting back to your original question, is Breath of the Wild a reboot? I think if they're making a sequel to Breath of the Wild, and I think if they keep going with that style of Zelda, I would consider that a reboot. Just like I would kind of consider Ocarina of Time to be a reboot, because it changed how they do Zelda, and they kept running with the 3D for so long. Even if little pieces of the thing kind of changed, like motion controls or art style. Two, like, all of them are good, but some of them not as much, maybe. But, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I might consider it just considering that they had gone out of their way to redefine, to, like, restyle Zelda specifically. Like, usually they, like, give it a new aesthetic and stuff, but, like, the 3D Zeldas, like, they're all, like, stylistically different, but they all have, like, the same guts. In that, like, you go to a dungeon, you get the item, that item, you're going to use it to kill the boss there.
Sure.
And you do that, like, ad infinitum until, congratulations, you're fighting Ganon now, even though he was not advertised to be the final boss of the game. In some cases, one case, Twilight Princess.
I think there's one, I was about to say, I think there's one specific case you're remembering here.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, and you do that in Wind Waker, and obviously, like, there's some things that change in Wind Waker. Like, you have the ship sailing, but that doesn't really...
Sure.
It doesn't make the game, like, wholly different from other Zelda games. You just
But
you're
if they,
putting white space in between the interesting thing.
Yeah, if they decided to keep doing the ship stuff, though,
If they expanded on it.
Yeah, would that make it a reboot?
Oh, that depends, because that might be like a gradual, like, changing of the way. So that actually brings up an interesting thing, because they tried to do that with Assassin's Creed, because they had the ships in Assassin's Creed 3 that everybody sort of liked, and then they just ran with it with Assassin's Creed 4, but then never really came back to that degree, because, like, okay, you did everything you can do with ships. If you do it anymore, it's going to get kind of old. So
Right.
I don't think that, like, they did make another game about ships that was a Phantom Hourglass,
Yeah.
and that was interesting. But at the end of the day, like, you still like you did a few ship things, and you went to these dungeons where you went inside, and you know, got an item that helped you defeat the boss. And, like, every Zelda game has a different game. I wouldn't say that they're reboots as much as, like, they're like steps. They were steps forward, or different steps and different. There were variations, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You don't have to reboot your thing every time, but, like, you know,
There's a clear difference between just trying something different
yeah,
and reboot, like trying to recreate your franchise.
you know, like, now that I think about it, yeah, I think I agree with you in the original thing. I don't think Resident Evil 2 is a reboot. I think because it still has a lot of the same elements of it. It's changed. It's very different from the other ones, but it still has the same elements, just brought to our current gen level of where we can enjoy it more.
I guess by that kind of, I guess, definition that we're kind of running with, I don't think there's been, like, a Pokemon reboot. It seems
No,
like
it's the
games
same
like-
game
yeah.
every year.
Well, games like, I guess Pokemon might be a bad example or a good example depending on how you think about it. But, like, it started with Pokemon Red, and it's basically stayed the same. It's just kind of gradually changed with whatever system it's on. Like, Mario hasn't really. Oh, Mario 64.
I feel like Mario 64 was a reboot, but it was a reboot. See, we feel like we're coming from this stance that, like, that a reboot has to happen because a franchise is failing. But I feel like a lot of times, like, especially in that area, reboots happen because the technology got better, so they could better like deliver these experiences. So they went 3D Mario. That was the next logical step, because nobody had done that yet, really. So, you know, they want to do Mario 64. I think is a reboot. Yes.
Okay.
Sort of. Yeah.
Sort of.
I don't know.
It's weird. I feel like 2D Mario and 3D Mario kind of separated in a way. But, like, they kind of stopped doing 2D Mario until they did, like, the new Super Mario Brothers for the Wii.
Yeah.
So is that a reboot?
I think that's a reboot of the 2D thing. It's
It's
weird.
getting complicated now, baby. I'm going to need... Bring me the poster board. We're going to need to put up some red, some red lines.
Oh, man. So, yeah.
This is getting weird, baby.
It wasn't. It's weird. It was like a reboot, but it was a reboot specifically of the way the 2D things worked.
So it's a reboot of some games that got left behind by the last reboot.
Yes.
Excellent.
Or maybe we're just throwing the word reboot
And
around
then
too
they
liberally.
made Super Mario 3D World, which is like a cross between the two. So it's a reboot of the reboot, which of the reboot. A reboot of two reboots.
How many reboots
It's
are you on
somewhere
right
in
now,
there.
my dude?
Somewhere in there's Captain Toad, which is kind of its own spin-off thing. but I think it's great.
A reboot.
A reboot of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, we might. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to define what a reboot is. I think like something that like drastically. I wouldn't even describe. Actually, you know what? I wouldn't even describe the Super Mario thing as like a reboot thing. I think something that drastically changes the way an entire franchise is going is that. And just because they had a return to form to the 2D thing, I think that's more of like a remake almost.
Okay.
Not really, but like, you know, I don't think it's a reboot because that's not changing the way the franchise is going. I don't feel like Mario is going to have a reboot for a long time either.
Probably not. I think the closest thing to like completely changing up how you would do 2D Mario might be Super Mario Maker.
Yeah, that's more of a spin-off though.
It is more of a spin-off, but like in terms of popularity, those games are like ridiculous. So I'm not really sure what some of this stuff is like.
It's
I don't
a
know.
reboot of the Super Smash Brothers stage builder, dude.
I hate you. All right. Change of plans. Sorry guys, this episode of Doghouse is only going to be 8 minutes long because that's how long it's going to take for the ambulance to get here when I'm done beating up DJ Husky. Let's go. Come on.
But off more than he could chew.
Right. But some of this stuff I don't even know what to make of. Like, it just falls into like this weird area. Like, I don't know. When certain games, like I can point at them and be like, "That's a reboot." Like Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Yeah.
They took the old Donkey Kong Country gameplay and they brought it to the Wii and they made it really fast paced and like beautiful. And you were going into the foreground and back into the background and all this stuff. Like it felt like Donkey Kong Country, but it was new and they remade it.
Yeah, I feel like that's like, it's weird. I can whenever like the ground that it starts getting muddied, I'm like, I don't know if it's a reboot as much as it is just a reimagining. But like, with certain games, it feels like that's an adrenaline shot in a franchise. Like
Right.
I'm like, yeah, definitely that's a reboot. But like, does a franchise have to be failing for them to have a reboot? You think?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think that is a move that a lot of failing franchises like to make.
Yeah,
Which is why we've seen so many with Sonic.
it's definitely a like a thing that happens more with failing franchises. But like, me personally, I consider Breath of the Wild a reboot, in my opinion, because of
Okay.
like the way it changed up the traditional 3D Zelda formula.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm like, okay, this is more about exploration, less about dungeons, more about resource management. I'm like, okay, this is you haven't played a Zelda game really like this up until now, as far as I know.
Except for the first one.
Nobody, yeah.
But yeah, I think
Who
I do.
played the first
I did. But I think I agree.
nerd?
I know. I think I agree with
I
you as
played-
far as Breath
I
of the
played
Wild
too.
goes.
It was awful.
It does feel like a reboot or like a big like the whole. I feel like the whole series is going to be different from now on.
Yeah,
After this one, and
Yeah.
it does feel like it injected a lot of life into the Legend of Zelda.
yeah. I feel like it's easier to look in hindsight to tell what a reboot is, unless it was Doom 2016, then you could like tell off the bat. Like,
Some
as
stuff
soon as
is
you
just
played
like,
it,
yeah, I get it. It's a reboot.
I haven't seen a good Doom game in forever, and this is a good Doom game, so obviously this is a reboot.
Right.
But
It's also kind of a good Quake game, but that's a discussion for another day.
oh my gosh, I'm glad you said that. I agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
it uses
yeah.
a lot of the Quake stuff. It's so interesting.
It is.
They could use some of the Doom stuff to make a new Quake game.
I would
So
be down for it. I'll play anything.
make Doom guy a DLC character or something. I don't know.
Give me that costume at the very least. That'd be cool.
I'd be down. But yeah, I've never played Quake before.
It's fine.
But yeah, I think when a lot of times it's easier to tell what a reboot is whenever you're like looking back and you see it and change the way a franchise is. That's why I think Super Mario 64 is a reboot.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, I don't think the 2D one is because, I mean, that's not really changing anything. That's
Yeah.
just a return to form.
It's almost like a callback and not as much.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Retro.
Retro.
Whoa.
I wonder if like
80s noises.
Acroman. I wonder if the popularity of these games kind of affects the way we think of them.
Mm.
Like if the new Super Mario Bros. 2D game had been like it was pretty popular. It's like one of the best-selling Wii titles. But if it had been like wildly popular, like best game of like, 5 years running or whatever, do you think you would be like, yeah, this is
Which
they
game?
reinvented Mario, the 2D Mario remake?
No, I think if it were hugely popular, I think I'd probably think that people really wanted to go back to 2D Mario games. That they were wanting that formula back. So I think that like while the reboot happened and they changed a lot in terms of 3D, they kind of just I'd still say it was a return to form. And that like, okay, 2D Mario's back to retro land because it's already been done, so it's not a reboot. I think it's like a reboot has to change something in a way that hasn't been done before in the franchise. That's why and that's why I think God of War is at least in some instances a reboot, because like if you look back at the old God of War games, like they have this way back camera that and this combat style that's like all very combo heavy, and it still has combo heavy stuff in the new one, but like you're closer up, and it feels different. Plus the characterization is different, and it just has a different pace and different feel to other God of War games.
If I had to think of a word for the new God of War combat, like compared to the old one, it's more thoughtful and more cautious. I think you're not like the Kratos can still like tear through stuff, but you have to think a bit more about what you want to do and how to manage all the enemies you're fighting.
Right.
But yeah, I think God of War is in that weird kind of gray area where it's kind of a sequel, but it's also kind of like a reboot. I think just because of how much has been changed, but I don't know. It's still really close, so it's kind of
Well, I mean, I'm saying that because I've played at least a little bit of the old God of War games, and I don't know if you played the new one.
I've not.
No. If you have that like perception of like playing the old one and playing the new one, it's kind of it becomes kind of like, okay, yeah, this is basically like a lot of the same elements are there, but it's gone in a way that's like wholly different from the old franchise. So I don't know.
Okay.
It's a little bit harder to describe with it, but I do feel like it's a reboot because it's going to change the way they approach storytelling, especially not just mechanically, but like storytelling, especially how it's done in the God of War games. So
interesting. Okay, so I think that just kind of goes to show that there is like some of them are not as easy to. I can't just like look at some games and like off the bat tell what it is. You kind of have to sometimes get into it and play it and kind of decide for yourself. I guess okay, if they continue with the stuff that they're doing, which they probably will for the God of War games, I'd think of it as like a reboot of the series because so much has been changed with the aesthetic and the gameplay.
yeah.
But that kind of gets me wondering, like, what are some games that you would like to see rebooted?
Punch-Out and F-Zero
We talked about that a little bit, I think.
and Star Fox.
I would love to see a new Punch-Out. That would be amazing.
I already had these like pre-selected. I was
Yeah.
like, these is what I want.
These ones I want.
Give
that
it to
one.
me.
Give
Come on.
this.
Give me the scrumptious Punch-Out reboot, please. Yes.
Punch-Out for the Wii was kind of a reboot.
Yeah, a
you
little
think about
bit,
it.
but like it was kind of a reboot in that or was it a kind of like just remake almost?
I think there's a lot of stuff that's Punch-Out. Okay, Punch-Out is a weird animal.
Yeah.
Because these characters are kind of defined by the way it's like Monster Hunter almost.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the characters and the monsters are both kind of defined by the way they fight, so they can't really change too much between the games. But I feel like the way you do it is so different, like the way you play them. I would say that the Punch-Out for the Wii was a reboot.
Okay.
It just was not popular to continue, or they just didn't care, and I'm left here all alone, wanting more Punch-Out. As is that's just the score. That's just how it goes, I guess. Sometimes
That's life. Yeah, I think that'd be interesting to get a reboot that kind of reimagined the way you go about combat in it. I still want the aspects, obviously, of each fighter being a puzzle, but I think adding more depth to each encounter would be great.
I want more depth when I'm fighting. And by depth, I mean literally to be able to move around the ring a little bit.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I'd like to have some control over training Little Mac to see like if I could, almost like a stat system to where like maybe there's a way to get like give him more speed so he can get more hits in faster when he dodges, or maybe increase his like just pure muscle so he hits harder. I don't know. Different stuff like that I think would be really fun.
Yeah.
But you mentioned F-Zero, and I think F-Zero would also be a really good racer to. I honestly, the two most popular like racing games right now are like that Crash Bandicoot remake race and like Racer. And
Crash
then, like,
Racing, yeah.
Crash Racing and like Mario Kart. And
I really want a more intense experience.
I have no interest in either of those.
I don't want to, and I don't want to play Forza because like, I mean, it'd be cool if they had brought back like Split Second because that had like I thought that had one of the coolest gimmicks of all time, but like, I just want to play. I just want to play.
Super intense.
Yeah, and Wipeout is okay. It's just, I don't know.
There is something to be said about the characters in F-Zero that I've always really liked. Like Captain Falcon, of course. He's really cool. He's in Smash. He deserves to have he deserves another game, I think, at this point.
Yeah. I mean, like even if they like didn't even make a racing centric game, like racing was a part of it. But like what if racing was just like one part of this world? What if they just made like a Captain Falcon game, or like a game like where you're just a racer and like you do other stuff as well in like this giant world, because apparently there's bounty hunters, samurai probably. Apparently,
isn't Captain Falcon a bounty hunter?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Like his actual job is a bounty hunter, but he races in F-Zero because it's cool. Everybody wants to do it. It reminds me of Redline, which you really need to watch that show. And I know we're going off topic with like anime, but it just does have to do with F-Zero. With like, you have a bunch of people that have like all these different walks of life, but they all have this passion for racing too. So they all come in to like do the yellow line, this extremely dangerous racing, so they can qualify for the red line, which is this like galactic racing extravaganza, like almost 100% fatality rate.
That does sound really cool.
Yeah,
it's very similar to F-Zero.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying like it's sort of that. Like I'd love to like, I don't know, maybe you have to do stuff to qualify to like join like different races. So like maybe like one of your big goals is to get into F-Zero, but like you have to do other stuff. Like you have to do things that like you can go about it different ways of how to qualify.
Yeah, maybe the starting thing would be like you have to get enough money to build a car.
Yeah,
you have to. There's stuff you could do between the races, I feel like.
You could like get like maybe add some like different job systems, and like you could like get priority on different things. Like maybe by the end of it, like the way you played your character, you ended up, I've got more important things to do than racing. Maybe like you try to, or like maybe that's like, yeah, well, I know the world is kind of falling apart, but man, I want to race. And like I don't want to go too serious with it because like I don't know if F-Zero is inclined towards that, but like
I don't know anything about F-Zero, honestly. Like I know I played a couple and I know the racing and stuff. I don't know very much about the actual world.
Yeah, and they're probably like cyberpunkish elements to it, because I know like you're racing in like these giant world cities, like these gigantic cyber cities. So like there's probably that element to it, but like it'd be interesting to see.
Maybe there'll be racing in Cyberpunk 2077 to kind of scratch that itch.
Yeah, I doubt it, but yeah, sure.
Okay, so we talked about the best reboots, and we talked about ones that we would theoretically like to see. Star Fox. I'd like to see any kind of Star Fox game.
I just want to Star.
What about the worst reboots, or the reboots that you hate the most?
The reboots that I hate the most?
That you just hate to like.
Yeah, I think I already mentioned Duke Nukem.
Nukem was pretty. That was pretty bad.
Oh Lord. Trying to think. I don't think Mass Effect Andromeda was a bad reboot. It was like an actual reboot, but it's still a bad game.
Yeah.
76, Fallout 76 count?
I think they tried to make like I don't know what I know what 76 is, and it's not a game, so it can't be a reboot.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's weird because we don't really hear about the bad reboots. They just die.
You just kind of ignore them. I think like the first one that came to mind for me was like
The Metroid one, right?
Metroid Other M was pretty bad. They kind of tried to go backwards. Like the story is like there was one guy who helped make all the 2D Metroids, and they were all really good. And then they made Metroid Prime, and he really didn't like first-person shooters, so he kind of tried to retroactively make a Metroid game where it's like it's 3D, but it plays like it's still in 2D, and it really just didn't work. Like it was on the Wii, and whenever you wanted to shoot missiles, you had to point the Wiimote at the screen, and it would switch to first person, but you couldn't move while you were doing it. You were just stuck, like stationary. So like anything could just hit you in the face, and there'd be nothing you could do about it. So just
Gross.
like they didn't really know what they were doing, and they should have just let the Prime team continue. It's weird. It's like there was already like the series had already been rebooted, and they tried to reboot it again and go in a different direction, and it really didn't work.
How many primes were there at that point? This one?
I think 3.
3? Okay. Well, now we're getting 4, so maybe.
Someday, maybe. Hopefully. I hope so. I really hated... I didn't play it, but I just hate the idea of Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I mean, not a good game, but
No.
a good example of
a good-
horribleness.
A good bad reboot. Like,
You know, no, I guess Monster Hunter World wouldn't be a reboot. I mean, it's more of like a step forward, like the
It's just-
natural progression.
yeah, it's just bringing stuff up to snuff.
The evolution. That's a game I would not want to see rebooted.
No.
But yeah, what other games do you think you'd like to you would actually like to see rebooted though?
Actually like to see a reboot of... I'd like to see another Duck Hunt game,
Ugh.
honestly. I kind of like Duck Hunt.
It's
Not
called
just the
play
character.
Cabela's.
But like, no.
Cabela's big game hunting.
No.
No.
Mas.
No.
I like it. I think it'd be cool. Maybe you could have like different guns that you can use. Like maybe one's got spread shot. Maybe one's got like slightly seeker bullets or something. I just think there's a lot of stuff they could have done with Duck Hunt, and it was reasonably popular. So I don't know. It's just the first one that
Maybe
came off
one's
the
a
top of
super
the head.
shotgun.
Sure.
They should put a Duck Hunt like little like arcade thing in like the new Doom game.
I would be totally down. There were a couple of arcade games like in the 2016 Doom.
Yeah, there's one where you just punch the turkey.
Yeah, you punch the turkey. There's one that's like Tetris, but with demons, and they explode when you get a row.
Yeah, it was like the scrapped idea for the Doom mobile game that they were gonna do.
Glad that wasn't a thing. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like most of the game series that I really like either didn't need reboots or have already been rebooted, and that's why I like them. Like, there aren't a lot of games where I just kind of like, except for Punch-Out, where there's a lot of just misuse potential.
Yep, I'll say.
I think that's all either of us can manage to say about reboots.
I feel like one word about Star Fox, if they were to reboot it, like I really wish if they were gonna do it, they wouldn't do it as a glorified tech demo.
That would be nice, but that's kind of the place it's taken in Nintendo's priorities, you know?
Yeah, and that fad, I don't like it.
That last one for the Wii U was not good. I don't know, dude. That might just be the last one. That might be the final nail in the coffin.
Well, they know they still acknowledge it because they put it Star Fox and Starlink, but like there has to be some Star Fox thing on the horizon. Don't go the way of F-Zero, please. There has to be an F-Zero thing on the horizon one day.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm sorry, dude. I think he's stuck in Smash. Gonna cry?
A little bit.
That's fine.
I'm crying right now. Okay, yeah, that's enough of that. Let's see how much more time we got. Okay, let's milk this for about 10 more minutes. No, I'm joking. No, I'm gonna set up the songs. I guess if I had to choose one game, I would like to get like soft rebooted, it might be. Well, no, I can't say the Dragon Age games because I don't know. Maybe I'd like an actual good.
They're gonna be
Dragon Age
super
game.
woke, dude.
Oh my gosh, you reminded me of that.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic. You're gonna love every second of them.
I haven't got to play. Like all through Inquisition yet. I'm just going off here. I'm just gonna have a conversation. Honestly, I'm I didn't get to play it all the way through Inquisition. Like I played through 2, which was like the one everybody hated, but I liked it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I know it has problems. I know it's probably a bad game in the scope of things, but the characters were enjoyable enough, and that had the best looking Kunari in the entire series.
Sure.
It's everybody likes to diss on Dragon Age 2, but like this is my controversial and very right opinion. Dragon Age 2 was the only one to actually make Kunari look cool. The rest of them made them look stupid or way too human. I hate the way they look in Inquisition. They look so dumb in Inquisition. I was so hyped when they were like, you can play as a Kunari in Dragon Age Inquisition. And then they rolled it out, and I was like, this looks dumb. It's just a person with ox horns. It's not what I wanted. I wanted big, giant monster guys. And, like, they still look humanoid in Dragon Age 2, but there's, like, a difference. They have, like, these, like, their faces look like leather pulled back on their horns, and it's like, it looks cool, but, like...
Yeah, one thing I'll say for Skyrim is, like, when you play as the different races, you can actually look like you're not human.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I liked about it. That's why, if I ever play anything that's not human, I always play Argonian, because I think they're cool.
Argonians are cool. I just wish there was more water in the game so I could actually have a reason to play as them.
Well, I mean, like, and like you get a mask that makes you be able to breathe water anyways.
That's true.
So, or potions. But like, I just like Argonians, so.
They do look cool.
Yeah. I think, speaking of, and we're just talking at this point, but like, if you had to pick a place for them to place the next Elder Scrolls, have they decided where they're going to put the next Elder Scrolls?
It's the Somerset Isles.
Really?
Yep.
Ugh.
That was the last I heard.
I kind of wanted it to be in Redguard.
Yeah, I think Redguard would have been cool. I think, I really wanted Valenwood, if I'm being honest.
That'd be cool. I'd be down.
Yeah.
I hate the elves, so like anywhere that gets me away from them is great.
I think I just liked all the forests in Skyrim and Oblivion so much. I kind of wanted that to be the main thing.
Plus, realized in like this scope also. Yeah, the forests were one of my favorite areas because you never know what you're gonna encounter out there. And some of like my best, like, something's attacking me. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Elsewhere would have been cool too. I wanted to see more of these weird Khajiit that I hear about in the lore, but like aren't, like apparently like.
Where Khajiit?
There's the Khajiit that you see, and then there's like big were Khajiit, and then some of them are just cats, like actual cats that can talk.
It's amazing.
I want to play as one of those.
It's amazing. I wonder if I wonder if they're gonna do anything with combat. You know, if like.
You want them to reboot Elder Scrolls?
Not reboot. I just want them to like.
I want them to reboot Elder Scrolls.
I want them to make the combat not bad, and make a game that's actually like whole.
I'm in a weird minority because I'm actually okay with the Elder Scrolls combat.
Yeah, I mean, like if they left it the way it was, like okay, I guess.
I think
fine.
Like
the main draw is the exploration and being able to see all this cool stuff. But like honestly, like I'm fine with the way like spells work. I guess like maybe tone them down to, like so I don't like just obliterate certain bosses so super easily. I want them to put a cap on like my strength. So like at some point like things are still difficult no matter how strong I get.
So more like New Vegas and less like Fallout 4.
Yeah.
But in Elder Scrolls, I guess.
Yeah, and like. I just enjoy that a little bit more personally, and I understand that's not the place. That's not the way that people want to take it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wish it was more challenging, and I wish that there weren't just exploits you could use to kind of get through the whole game. But like I play Skyrim more for just like exploring the different kinds of characters I can make at this point.
Yeah.
Less for actually like the world or the story or anything that's actually in the game. But yeah,
I think. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I think with Skyrim, they did a really good job of giving you like a whole lot of freedom in what kind of character you make, but the game did not scale well with that. It did not. They couldn't have like the same freedom as far as how you do stuff. You know, like you could play as anyone, but you still gotta like hack and slash your way through half the game. It feels like there's not. The world doesn't change with you. It just kind of stays the same as far as difficulty and the way things work and the way things get completed. It's just, I guess that's kind of, it kind of goes back to what you're saying about it not being like complete. It's kind of half done.
Yeah, it's just kind of hard to put to words, I guess. But yeah, I'm not really that big of a fan.
That's because you're playing without mods, baby.
Yeah, mods would make it a lot better. I feel like, and I know you said you didn't play it for story and stuff, but like honestly, if they made a story that I actually gave a crap about, that would make the game a lot more. And like for me personally, the reason I played it, I like going all these cool places, just finding stuff.
Yeah.
I just like wandering through the world. I was like, wow, I'm just gonna walk into this forest. I'm like, oh look, I found a cave. Or like I remember one time I found like this hole with spikes in it, and I was like, what the heck? And there's like a whole bunch of dead people.
Yeah.
And then I found like I went around
about.
and I found like a den to a
Bandits
den, and I was
it's
like,
called Steam Halt Camp. Yeah.
I was like, oh, they just let people fall on these spikes and die.
Yeah.
And rob them. I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty cool find though.
Very cool.
Like,
Yeah, there's very cool like visual storytelling.
Yeah.
There's an exclusive spell in that cave that lets you turn iron ingots into silver ingots and gold ingots.
Mm-hmm.
You never have to buy anything again. I know too much about Skyrim. I've booked over 1,000 hours into it. But
yeah, I think I don't remember why I stopped playing the first time, but I remember the second time when I played the remastered edition. I stopped playing because they still hadn't still hadn't fixed the Markarth quest line. So like that same glitch, and I was like, what a lazy remaster.
It's really weird because, did you ever get any of the DLC or get to the?
I got a little bit of DLC, but I didn't get the one where you had to go like fight on the other isle and stuff. I was like, I'm not.
I was about to like that part of the game. Is what I wish the whole thing was like. It's a much tight. It's not as big and expansive. It's like. But it feels much more like tight narratively, and the difficulty feels more appropriate for like the end of the game, and like the whole tone of it feels a lot more dark and mysterious and like eldritch. But that's more of my thing. But you know, I kind of wish Solstheim had just been its own thing. Like if they made a whole game about that.
Yeah. Well, that's a weird sound. I don't like hearing that.
Where's that coming from? That's spooky.
That's spooky. All right. Well, talking to your mic right quick.
Hello.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's not messing with anything, I guess I that's not detecting up there. So, whatever. We'll just keep going. But anyway, yeah. I played it like Dawnguard a little bit. So that was like the DLC that I got, and I really enjoyed. And there it goes.
It's a ghost.
I played Dawnguard, and that was really fun. I enjoyed that for what it was. I mean, it's not like great or anything, but I liked being able to like pick the factions and like see like this storyline and like a little bit more of the history of the area, and feel like I was like actually like taking part, like more than this like the generic. You're the chosen one. Slap this dragon around for 5 minutes. I was like, oh, okay.
All right, if you say so.
I killed it with like a dragon dagger. It's like the size of its tooth, and I was like, yeah, this is the end. This is something that's the end of the world. This is definitely world threatening.
Yeah, I was really hyped up for fighting Alduin, and then like I threw a fireball at him, and he was like, "Ouch!" And I was like, "If it bleeds, we can kill it."
It was. Yeah, I liked Dawnguard though because it felt like I was actually taking place in this. I went with the lesser chosen thing and went with the Dawnguard because I was like I walked into the vampire's castle and they were like, welcome. Would you like to be one of us? And I was like, what does that entail? Well, you get to live forever unless it's daytime, and then it hurts really bad. Would you like to participate in our hors d'oeuvres? And I looked on their table, and it's like filled with body parts. I'm like, that's disgusting. You people are animals. I'm going to kill every one of you.
What do I get if I become a vampire? You get to live forever in this dank, smelly hole with us, traveler.
Also, we're going to turn out the sun so there's no more light and we can roam around. I'm like, doesn't that have horrifying implications for the rest of life and eventually destroy all of our food sources?
It's already falling apart.
I want to kill you guys.
Yeah. But
and he was like, be gone! And I came back like 10 hours later.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have to fight him. Like, right as if I say no, I'm going to have to fight him. But I've got dragon armor and 100 plus destruction.
I can take you.
Just looks around the room. Yeah, okay.
I'm ready. It's like I level up all my lichen stuff just so I could fight him as a werewolf. And then she was like, no, you gotta use the sword to kill him. I'm like, well, this is dumb.
That's weird.
I was like, this is dumb. It doesn't let me act out my Twilight fantasy. This is what the Twilight movie should have been like.
Like Underworld?
Yeah, except,
Good?
not 90s.
Yeah. Not like a Matrix reboot.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what we talked about today.
Oh. Before we just started talking about stuff.
Skyrim.
Anyways, yeah, we should probably take a break and then we'll come back and we'll do the our boss rush thing.
Do I bark for boss rush? Or...
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a stoic.
Yeah, I don't. Today's been a day, so let's just get this show over with.
Jeez.
No, I'm enjoying it. But we're gonna take a quick song break and we'll be right back. We're gonna talk about Well, we're not gonna talk about it. We're gonna go straight into our boss rush. And today's contestants will be Dr. Wily versus Eggman. We'll be talking about those and seeing who will advance in our tournament. But before any of that, we are going to take a brief song break. Let me see. I think we'll play a little bit of Snake Eater. If it'll move over here. There we go. What else do you think we should play? Logan?
Let's play Eggman.
Play Eggman? I know who you're voting for, you dang scamp. All right, and then we're gonna have a brief ad by our friends over at CBC Talk Sports. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. First song we're gonna be playing is Snake Eater by Cynthia Harrell, and then Eggman by Paul Shortino and Jen Snow. So we'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
What a thrill, with darkness and silence through the night. What a thrill, I'm searching and I'll melt into you. What a fear in my heart, but you're so supreme. I give my life, not for honor, but for you. In my time, there'll be no one else. Crime, it's the way I fly to you. I'm still in a dream, snake eater. Someday you go through the rain, and someday you'll feed on a tree frog. It's ordeal, the trial to survive. For the day we see new
It's your boy DJ RJ3, aka RJ Johnson. I would like to inform you that I am doing a sports talk show called CBC Talk Sports with none other than
The man, the myth, the legend, Elliot Bender.
We do this show every Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. And with that, I'm out.
The story begins with who's gonna win, knowing the danger that lies within. A boy, the arc, a genius at heart, wanting to unlock the mysteries of life. I am the Eggman, that's what I am. I am the Eggman, I got the master plan. I am the Eggman, that's what I am. I am the Eggman with the master plan. I'm plotting my schemes wherever I go. They're perfect in every way. I love to destroy the blue one, you know. He's an obstacle that always gets in my way. I must play this game by my rules. I will conquer the world with my tools. All my machines are made for destruction. I will build my empire. I will succeed, and you will see. With my machines, there is no retreat. I am the Eggman. That's what I am. I am the Eggman. Got the master plan. I am the Eggman. That's what I am. I am the Eggman. I got the master plan. I will succeed. My mission, yeah, I must complete. My name is Eggman, don't forget my name. If you ask me again, I'll tell you the same. I am the Eggman, that's what I am. I am the Eggman, I got the master plan. I am the Eggman, that's what I am. I am the Eggman, I got the master plan. I am the
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. You are listening to The Doghouse with your hosts, Husky and Updog.
Hey, what's up, fellow gamers? We were just about to get our boss rush started. In one corner, standing 4'9" and 111 pounds, it's Dr. Albert W. Wily.
Oh, Lord.
In the other corner, standing 6 foot 128 pounds and an IQ of 300, Dr. Ivo Robotnik,
The Rotund
aka
Genius.
Eggman, the Rotund Genius.
Oh, man.
Which one's bigger, his brain or his appetite? We'll find out
Ooh.
here.
He never explains how he
rush.
got that fat.
I know in the Sonic Bible it says that he got, like, electrocuted while holding a boiled egg or something.
What?
I'm not. Sonic's weird. Don't look at me. I don't make the news. I just report it.
This is a tournament for the best villains of all time.
Yep.
Okay, I've got an immediate problem.
What's
Why
that?
are these two here?
Well, jeez, harsh.
Listen, I'm just calling this out right now. My predictions. My good fellow judge, Mr. Updog. I don't see these guys going
It's
very
Dr.
far.
Updog.
Dr. Updog. You don't have a real doctorate. You're a dentist.
I have an IQ of negative 300.
Doctor in thugonomics. Yeah, I don't see them going that far. In my opinion. I can understand why we picked them because they're kind of
Like they're both really iconic.
they're old.
and
That's why.
I think they're more iconic than some of the other characters on this roster, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, they're more iconic than some of the characters definitely that are currently on this roster. But you
I
know,
think if a character is old, it means that they work.
I
they've
feel
been-
mechanically at least they
Sure,
work.
at the very minimum. I think aesthetically, one of these characters is probably the best thing about their franchise, but that's not saying much. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you just want to jump right in?
Let's jump right into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and
All right.
abrupt ending.
Very abrupt. So, why don't we start with I don't know. Who do you want to start with? How are we going to cover this?
All right. Well, I guess we can start with Eggman.
Okay.
What are his origins? His origins being, I don't know if they ever. I mean, you kind of said that like apparently he was electrocuted with an egg.
Mm-hmm.
But he was in the first Sonic game.
Yeah.
There's not really much to him other than he's a mad scientist who wants to rule the world. That's his thing, at least in the first game. That's his motivation for why he typically gets in Sonic's way. And it seems like his motivation generally throughout the series is he wants to rule the world or get hold of this power that allows him to gain control of a force that allows him to control the world. It's really...
This whole thing is just world domination for world domination's sake. I
Yeah,
guess.
and like mechanically it works for Sonic because it's a franchise that was made to appeal to a younger generation at the time.
Yeah. I think in the older Sonic games, he kind of worked better because, like, they wouldn't explore his character or anything, but you kind of saw what he was doing to the Earth. Like, he would kidnap animals and turn them into robots. Like, that was bad.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, as you progress through the game, like, you would come to, like, worse and worse places that Eggman had built, like, huge power plants and, like, oil refineries and stuff. So there was kind of, like, you don't really know what Eggman's trying to do.
Yeah.
It's just bad for the environment.
I know, like, some of the, like, the Archie comics, or, like, even in, like, some of the, like, the games, like, you find out, like, a world where, like, he's in charge of basically, like, all of his natural resources depleted and stuff.
Yeah.
He's just all around horrible, and he might be, like, a thing of environmentalism versus, like, the progress of industrialism, or probably not that deep, and they just wanted a mad scientist that made everything look metal.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who kind of dive too deep on these character motivations and like what they mean, and
I think
for him,
yeah, at the very least, like he's got a simple motivation, but I appreciate visually seeing on screen like the results of his messing with things.
His visually, aesthetically, he's I think he's fun. He's one of the funner He's one of the funner characters in this roster, I think. He always has a distinct design, and you know he has a lot of good dialogue over the years too. It just comes from a series that like notoriously is kind of like meh.
Yeah.
As far as that goes.
I think like I kind of mentioned this earlier. Like Sonic's been through a lot of redesigns, and I actually think Eggman's redesigns have all been pretty good. Like his switch from Robotnik to Eggman, like he looks pretty cool if I'm being honest.
Yeah, he looks cool. I enjoy it. I think the first time I encountered him was in Sonic Adventure 2.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time I've actually got to like play as him or play against him, and I realized that's not very. I've never been like super into Sonic, but like that was I enjoyed Adventure 2 when I was a kid, and I always thought he was pretty cool as a villain. As a kid, you know, it was good enough for me,
Sure.
his motivation, and I thought he was wacky and zany enough. And when like you actually win with the villain storyline, you're like, oh my lord, he's actually about to blow up this planet. What have I done? What have I done? What have I done?
He's gonna do it. He blew up the moon, didn't he?
At least half of it, yeah.
That's gonna cause all kinds of problems.
The tides are all out of whack.
What is the biggest thing like relative to the moon? It's the Earth. So gravity's just gonna pull all the chunks of that moon that don't get caught up in the bigger pieces gravitational pull onto the planet. It's a lot of moon dust just falling from the sky. Great.
Bad news. That's bad news. Ooh.
But
yeah, I know his origins. Like as a kid, he always looked up to his grandfather. Like later, it gets revealed he always looked up to his grandfather as an idol of his, and so that was something he always dealt with because his grandfather had these plans to destroy the planet
yeah,
using the Ark thing on the moon.
space colony art.
Yeah,
Why do I know? What
but
that's
he
called?
doesn't learn from that. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep trying to take over the world and
Sure.
kill this blue hedgehog. He doesn't really play off Sonic as much as like they have like banter and like they don't like each other,
Sure.
but there's never any like there doesn't have to be for what the Sonic franchise tries to do. There's no like real moral quandary.
Yeah, I
know.
feel like he's kind of got that older villainitis where it's like the Mario and Bowser don't really play off each other that well, and neither do Sonic and Eggman. Like you said, they have banter, but like there's not. I don't feel like there's that much chemistry. Like Sonic will be chasing Eggman, or Eggman will be chasing Sonic. There's no like. I don't know. They don't really play off each other, I guess.
Yeah, there's not a dynamic there other than hero and villain.
Yeah.
And that's fine for what they serve. Because, like, Sonic was made as an answer to Mario. And, like, what's fun about the Sonic games was their mechanic and the way they played.
Right.
Like, for the people that enjoy Sonic games. You played it because you like going fast and you like playing as Sonic. You didn't play it for the great villain. Although you may have liked Eggman,
I think he's cool, but like.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's cool. He's kind of cheesy. I like the stuff that he says.
Yeah, get a load of this.
Yosh.
Yeah, he's cool. But I don't know what else he offered. So what was your kind of first
Introduction.
experience with him?
I guess Sonic Adventure DX on the GameCube. Like he was always just kind of there, and I liked being on the big airship that he builds because it's such a stupid. It's got his face. His face
The
is
egg
like
carrier?
the egg carrier. His face is on everything. Like the voice on the intercom is always him, just telling his robots like stuff. Just like he's like a child trapped in a man's body, just playing out his like fantasies of having a giant robot army and stuff, which is kind of he's always entertaining, but I never really feel threatened with Eggman, if that makes sense. Like I think he's a good children's video game villain, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's all we have to say about Eggman. So let's move on to his contestant.
Dr. Albert W. Wily.
Wilder.
Is he German? I think he's German.
Why not?
Sure.
Dr. Wily, it is. So he why don't you I'm like I have like a tertiary understanding.
Yeah.
I did research this time, but like,
Yeah, I like good games, so I have a pretty good understanding of Mega Man in comparison to
Right.
Sonic. So kind of the whole idea of Mega Man is there are these two scientists, Dr. Light and Dr. Wily. Together, they have kind of this dream to build like a workforce that'll never, tire and never hunger, and you can just keep building a bigger and better world for humanity. So they make the Robot Masters, which are like, one Robot Master is made to like, keep furnaces burning, and another one's built to like clean up the ocean, and one's made to help package food from the ocean. They each have like these different powers to help them supervise these big industrial operations.
and decimate the working class.
There you go. It's 1984 in video games. No, but yeah, it's an economic nightmare.
Factory jobs for making these robots are going to go up though.
I think there's like a theory that they just got done with like a huge world war, so there's just not enough people to keep the
Wow.
people to keep things moving. I don't know. Who cares? But basically, Dr. Wily gets jealous that Dr. Light keeps getting all the credit. And to be fair, I think both of them do build a lot of the robots, or at least Wily does a lot of like the software engineering. That seems to be kind of his thing. So he hacks into all these robots like in every single game and takes over the world. And you gotta go to each one and break it and stop him as Mega Man. That's kind of the idea. I guess in comparison to Eggman, he's not as flamboyant and he's not as present on the screen. Like he doesn't put his face on everything.
I feel like he has better motivations at the very least. Like
Sure.
he's actually like he just feels like a guy who got spited.
Yeah.
And like even though he goes about it in these overly like campy ways, which is what you expect from games, the game franchises that are this old, you kind of get like, okay, yeah, so this is just he actually has a motivation other than I want to rule the world. He's like, I want to rule the world because I'm angry that they're all giving the credit to Dr. Light. I'm like, okay, well,
I can understand that too, because like he didn't like I guess the idea is like Light built these big flashy robot bodies while Wily did the brain work, make like designing their programming and stuff.
Yeah.
So it make like in real life he probably wouldn't get as much credit.
Yeah.
It's like he's not an engineer, he's a programmer. So I like the idea of this big like ongoing arms race between these two inventors. And that's kind of the story of Mega Man. I think it's a bit more serious. Not by very much. I mean, one of the robot masters is Bubble Man. Some of them are pretty goofy. But
but I mean, they're the robots themselves were just excuses to give Mega Man these powers, and so like, and we're not going to judge Wily on these, I guess, because he's just taking the robots that Dr. Light made, and it's kind of like this taking these things that are meant to be good and turning them into these evil things. It's kind of interesting for him, and I don't know. I'm really trying hard here.
He does actually make like 3 robots on his own.
Right.
Like he makes Bass and Treble, which are like kind of counterparts to Mega Man in the classic games. They're okay. I don't really like them. But then he also makes Zero, which is the best robot in all of Mega Man, in my opinion. Personal favorite.
Okay.
He's the coolest. I'm the coolest.
Dr. Eggman made, I think, a few robots. I know he made, I don't know if this counts towards his villainy, but I know he made Omega.
Yeah.
I know he made Metal Sonic.
Gamma.
I'm not counting any Archie lore, by the way, because I know there's a ton of stuff we could go into in that, but that doesn't
we don't have the time.
That doesn't contribute to like what you feel in a game when you go up against these bosses. So like, how do these guys contribute to the like rising tension of the game? I think is what the big thing is. I haven't got to play a Mega Man game ever, so I can't testify as to whether what my experience with him is. I've watched a few of the boss battles, and they look they look fine for their age. It's like an NES game, so I'm like, okay.
I don't know what. I think the thing I like about Eggman the most is it's always big, it's always flashy, it's always over the top and makes no sense whatsoever. If that makes, okay, we're in space now, I guess, and he's got a giant version of himself that's fighting me. I don't know how that's moving in 0G. I don't know why. I don't get it. But that's fine. I guess I'll break it too.
Yeah.
And then I think the thing I like about Wily is like by the time you get to Wily, you have all the upgrades in the game, and you actually kind of need them. Like the fights are decently hard, I guess, at least when I was a kid. So I can appreciate that. And I think it's a lot strong. Like these old games didn't really have very strong backstories.
Yeah. I think that's
or they couldn't really explore the backstories too much, but like I think the personal nature of Wily's backstory just kind of gives him an edge. At least it did for me. Like I felt a little bit more invested.
Yeah, I feel like that he, in terms of like their motivations and backstory, Wily gets the edge because he actually has one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard for Eggman to win out in that category. I think when it comes to like based on like all the different iterations that you've seen of Eggman's like boss fights, I feel like mechanically I might give a slight advantage to Eggman.
That makes sense.
Because like he's had like the Egg Eater was actually kind of fun. When I remember in Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Adventure DX, I was like, okay, this is actually a fun boss fight.
I don't think
And it wasn't like a great one, but you know.
Yeah, I think comparing like if you compare the stuff, I think we can cover this pretty well by like talking about which one would win in a fight.
Yeah, that's interesting because like, does he have to like get close to the guy in order to hack the robots? Or
I don't know. It's always weird.
Or can he just like upload influenza to a
Robo-Enza
Robo-Enza to the cloud and just?
I don't know, dude. It's so confusing sometimes. Like sometimes he has to talk to the robots and convince them to be evil.
Yeah, but then again, like, are we counting in like Chaos Emeralds in this? Like, does he have access to Chaos Emeralds?
I don't know.
Because
These two, like, it's such a. If they're not like physically fighting, it's always a weird.
well, if they're like, if they were to physically fight, I mean, Eggman wins because he does.
He's 2 feet tall.
He does have strong.
He's like a foot taller.
He has actually like have almost like ridiculous like strength.
He's kind of
seems.
a monster.
Like I'm like, ugh. But
Yeah.
He briefly outran Sonic
Yeah.
to
I
escape.
think like Eggman's built some really big and ridiculous stuff, like the Death Egg. Like he's built like
Yeah.
moon-sized space stations, and he has. I think he can mass produce like armies of robots pretty easily.
Yeah.
And Wily's not. I don't think he's not a good engineer. He's not good at like building these things.
I feel like Wily is. Yeah, I feel like Wily is smart, and he's really good at coming up with these coming up with these things to get this revenge. But like, Eggman, some of the things he does, like we make fun of him because of like he's the funny egg boy. Hoo, he's funny looking. The same things he's done are actually like kind of terrifying. Like he split the earth to get like the whatever the power
Yeah,
was.
he's actually
unleashed.
crazy.
He like shows absolutely no fear in any situation. Like even when he runs, like it's always because he always has a backup plan to get away.
Right.
Like,
and as soon as he loses, he's always like, "All right, I'm going to move on. I already have plans for the next thing that I'm going to do."
yeah, I feel like I might give the advantage to Eggman in this scenario.
Yeah. I think Wily hasn't like built anything, but he's very good at hacking. But I'm not sure, and that isn't something Eggman has had to deal with in any of his games because
we don't know how
we don't know how that'll play out.
Yeah. Let's just say it's his. Could Eggman and his army of robots and his machinations get through Wily's hacked robots from
Right.
Dr. Light? Would they? Do you think he
I
would?
don't think so. I think just like it's kind of a quality over quantity question. Like I can imagine. I think the robots in Mega Man, just even the mobs, are like harder to deal with than the enemies in Sonic, because they have like shields and stuff.
Right.
You can't just like shoot them. Like even the tiny little ones will like duck down behind helmets, and you have to wait for the right moment to attack.
Yeah.
Whereas enemies in Sonic are more just like whack them and they'll fall over.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's just that obviously is also a byproduct of like their different designs. I think you can also look at like not just like the 2D Sonic games, but the 3D Sonic games, and some of the villains in that are like I don't know if they're on par with like the big bosses or anything, but like there's some that are kind of whack.
Yeah.
That they shoot missiles and whatnot. I don't know. Sonic's games move faster, so it always makes the enemies.
They have to make the enemies you don't have the time to sit down and fight them all.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of in between on this. I can see a good argument for either way, and I know we're supposed to come up with a conclusive answer, but I don't know.
It's harder to tell when the power isn't based on like physical strength.
Yeah.
And it's more of a mental gymnastics, I guess.
Yeah. I do think I know who would win this. I think I know I can decide on who's the better villain.
Okay.
In my opinion. I think I'm going to go with Dr. Wily just because he actually has motivation. I feel like it ramps up the tension a little bit more in general throughout the game.
Yeah.
There are certain exceptions to this with Eggman, where he can be around and ramp up the tension, but I don't really feel like he's anything other than like I'm the generic mad scientist.
I'm the Eggman.
And I get there's the argument for like that he's iconic, but like he's iconic because Sega made a bunch of money in the '80s and just kept the franchise alive. Like, and like Mega Man's fun because it's Mega Man, but eventually they dropped Dr. Wily and like picked up Sigma, and like honestly, Dr. Wily has like. I really wanted to pick him because he has like a lasting effect on the series even after his death. Like he creates the Maverick thing, which opened up a whole new can of worms. So like, I feel like his like desire to just like keep trying to take down Dr. Light has gone to such lengths that it's become like a legacy of just awfulness.
There's almost kind of an arc too of it because like in the earlier Mega Man games, he doesn't really want to hurt anyone. He just wants to prove that he's the best.
Yeah.
And he keeps being like demonized by the public, and he keeps losing over and over to the point where he builds a robot that can just tear up all the other robots, and then he turns himself into a computer virus. You know, like I feel like he kind of becomes a worse and worse villain over the course of the games to the point where he just sacrifices himself to meet his ultimate goal of just destruction. So I think that slight story, I think I agree, like that slight edge in terms of story does kind of push him ahead of Eggman at least a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that he. So are we ready to say that he's?
Yeah, I think Wily wins. A moment of silence for our fallen egg brother.
So at the end of the day, Dr. Wily wins because I think he has a better backstory, and we can't count the Archie comment because I know there's a lot of characterization of that, but that doesn't really contribute to what he is in the game.
Yeah.
I feel like Dr. Wily throughout the franchise is able to. He has a longer burnout, and he starts out simple. He gets at least a little bit more complex, and he has a longer lasting series, and he has a greater effect on the hero as well because you find Mega Man trying to questioning his own ethics and even beginning to compromise it in some aspects.
There's a game where Mega Man tries to kill him, actually.
Yeah, so it's an interesting aspect of that. I think he wins because of that aspect. I don't know how far he's going to go because I realize you say he's an icon. I feel like I
don't know how much farther he's gonna go in this.
I feel like I love Dr. Wily like the way he is. I feel like he has a great place, but I don't know if I would put him. I don't know if I would say he's a better villain than a lot of other villains out there. And I realized we had to kind of make compromises and pick on who was going to be in this bracket
With science.
Yeah, but. Or something like that.
Sure, pseudoscience.
Pseudoscience voodoo, but we're coming down to it. So, I feel like there are some other villains out there that could hold their own against Wily, and I feel like there are villains in this bracket they're going to give Wily. And I may be wrong. You may be able to make an argument for Wily against these other villains. I know there are some villains that I think. People aren't counting on that I'm going to be enjoying talking about. So, at least two that I think are going to get farther than that I think are going to get far. But we'll have to wait until we get there.
I kind of felt at the beginning of this, I was leaning more Eggman, just because I think a lot of people don't really know who Wily is. But like the more I thought about it during the discussion, I think that relationship does kind of make. It holds a lot more weight than I thought it would during the discussion. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to, we won't see until we do it, I guess.
Right. Who knows? I think with whenever Dingo gets back, we'll be able to give a little bit more discussion if Dingo comes back, because there is one thing that we have to mention to our viewers out there.
Right. Yeah. If you've been paying attention, there's been a lot of wild stuff going on, and we're probably not going to be on the air for a while.
This is on campus, and the campus is shutting down for a bit. It may be going completely online for classes, which means we won't be able to get back on campus, which would be unfortunate, but
Hey, I mean,
it's
that's just the way it goes.
That's the way it goes, baby. Yeah, you know what it is? What can I say?
You know
I'm
what
the
it
bad guy.
What? What are you doing? What is this? Aye.
But yeah. But when we do get back, we do plan to resume the boss rush.
Yeah.
Who is next on our boss rush?
This next one is one I'm both excited and kind of terrified for. You know what? I'll say one of the contestants, and you can call out the other because I know you're excited for it. This time we did like intelligence, but I think this one is going to be just pure bestial rage and big dragons.
Big dragons.
It's going to be Ridley versus
Fatalis.
What is a Fatalis?
He's a monster from the Monster Hunter franchise, but he's more than just a monster, and I can't wait to talk about him because I actually have played with him, and I know about Ridley too, and I think Ridley has a chance of beating him as well. I think you're underestimating Fatalis. I know you're laughing at it, but
I'm not underestimating him because I can't do any
yeah,
kind of estimation.
I think that these monsters, these creatures, people see them and they think big scary dragon, but there's a lot more to them. I think I'm not even viewing it as an argument. I'm just looking forward to talking about these
Sure.
characters. These are gonna be fun. I think.
I think
so.
a lot of people also underestimate a lot of stuff about Ridley.
Yeah, I was saying
Yeah.
both. Yeah,
Yeah.
both of them because
This will actually, I think, both of them seem like big scary dragons, but there's more underneath in the heart. And
something much more sinister.
It's cold, calculating evil.
Yeah, actually, for both of them, I'm actually very much looking forward to talking about this. We're about to round up the show. We got 1:30. Yeah, man, I really hope that we can come by. Maybe we can just break into the station and do a show.
Sure. We can steal the mobile gear and use that.
Ugh, I don't want to do the mobile one. Ugh.
It's really hard to set up.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
It's like a soundboard and a roll of duct tape.
Yeah. We might take suggestions and do a flash round at some point of runner-ups or honorable mentions.
Speaking of honorable mentions, do you have any for this week?
Did we already mention GLaDOS?
Nope, I don't think we did.
Yeah, my honorable mention is GLaDOS because I feel like she has an oppressive effect on the entire game of Portal, and she has a lot of witty dialogue. She actually makes you feel her presence, and there's a lot of character development with that character. So she's my honorable mention. No idea why she wasn't in this bracket, but can't win them all, baby. And what can I say? I'm the bad guy.
Stop saying that. I won't let that be your catchphrase. I guess my honorable mention is King K. Rool. I know he's not like as popular as a lot of other villains. He's only been in a few games, but he's such a good foil to Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Because they're both stupid.
That's fair. You guys have been listening to the Doghouse. Yeah. Tune in next week, maybe. I don't know. We might be back. You've been listening to your
Who
host,
knows?
Husky and Updog. Tune out. Enjoy your time. What can I say? I'm the bad guy.
No, stop saying that.